One of the things I remember about this movie is that it has credits at the end.
Oh, good. Well observed.
And those credits are over a sailboat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
Spoiler alarms.
Okay, are you ready?
Yes.
Everybody comfy and cozy?
Let's do it.
All right.
Oopie doopie.
Hello and welcome to the most excellent 80s movies podcast. It's the podcast where a filmmaker, a comedian, and an actor and podcaster and do everything sort of guy hang out to discuss the 80s movies that we love and love to hate and hate to love. And today we're talking about Romancing the Stone, a movie selection from 1984.
Getting out of this jumble dump. I'm fed up to here with this treasure hunt business. Yeah. Ira, you miserable worm, you lied to me. You said she was a city girl, out of her element. Just get her in the map and bring them back. Piece of cake. Piece of cake, my butt. What went wrong? I'll tell you what went wrong. First of all, guess who else is here? You're dead right, Solo. What? Secondly, she's got herself a partner who likes shooting holes and everything.
Minimum price for taking a stranded woman to a telephone was $400.
$375 in traveler's checks?
Not a deal.
That's just the beginning of what's going on down here. There's nothing you can say that'll make me go back into that hellhole. Don't bring that up, Ira. Ira, stop it! All right, I'll go back. But this time, you're coming with me.
It's so weird when the trailer doesn't have the music from the movie, when the music from the movie is so, connected with your experience of the movie.
It's also really weird when the trailer has a fourth wall break in the middle of it.
Yeah.
Danny DeVito looking dead into camera. You're coming with me.
I had never seen that trailer, but after I finished the film, I did watch the trailer for the sequel.
Oh, nice.
And that sequel trailer makes a lot more sense now.
They repeat the whole gag, don't they?
It is the whole gag, except he's in a phone booth in the desert.
Man, when your movie leans completely on Danny DeVito.
Well, he has more lines in the trailer than I think in the movie.
If it don't work, if it wait.
If it don't work, break, fix it.
Welcome
Exactly
to a
that.
late night podcast of the most excellent 80s movies.
Yes. So that voice is, of course, Nathan Blackwell.
Ooh.
Everyone will recognize that voice.
And
course.
that voice is Krissy Lenz of the National Comedy Theater.
Yes, but that third voice you may also recognize as a favorite guest, Mr. Adam Rini.
Hi, I'm here for the third time.
Yay!
Third time's the charm. And this movie is so charming.
It is. I really
It's
like
the
it.
truth.
Have you had you seen it before? Did you watch it as a kid?
The last time I saw it, it was another instance of my dad getting free movies from the library.
Yeah.
And so I watched it on a very torn up VHS, and he put it on. I saw the cover. I was like, oh, this is going to be great.
Romance.
I couldn't read at that point, I don't think. I just saw people swinging on a vine.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is going to be good. I've seen this in Muppet Babies. And when it started and it was in the Old West, I was like, great. We got the wrong movie. And I stopped watching it.
Oh, no.
You haven't seen it since?
I did see most of it on cable about 6-7 years ago. And I was like, oh, yeah, there was definitely the wrong movie in there.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I watched it again this time, I was like, oh, I see.
Yes. I see what you're doing there, movie.
It did an incredible job of fooling me.
I love that beginning. The beginning where you're inside of her book.
Mm-hmm.
It's
The Savage
funny.
Secret.
Yes. It's really funny. Like, the dialogue is actually good, you know?
It ends on the stole my Bible after the murder of the family.
Shot my dog and stole my Bible.
That was some sweaty
Almost
cleavage.
boob.
Steamy.
Yeah. when I saw that, I went from 11 to 13 in just the single viewing.
Oh, you mean, I thought you meant on that horniness meter. Like you started the movie at 11.
Look, you can use
jumped
whatever
you
math you want
to a 13.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's totally not practical garb for the Old West.
No,
Yeah.
that's great. Because it's all wet.
It's breezy.
So it's evaporating off of you, getting rid of the heat.
From a science point of view, it makes a lot of sense.
Well, you need support, though. You don't want to just be swinging free in the breeze.
Do you, though? Do you?
She didn't
My
know
question
anybody
was
around.
how torrid were these novels?
I mean,
You know, like, what if they were seriously, you know...
yeah. I mean, have
Like
you
if
ever
we-
read like a Danielle Steele?
Read in detail how he
His
stole that Bible.
angry shaft.
Yeah, I mean, things get pretty heated. Have you seen it? Had you seen it?
Yeah, so this is one of those staples I had growing up. And it's been a while
Me
since
too.
I've seen it, but no, I've probably seen it like 15 times in total. Just, you know, when I couldn't get enough Indiana Jones, that I had to go to Romancing the Stone as the second choice.
It's like the next best thing. It's right up there.
Yeah, because it's Robert Zemeckis directed, and it definitely has kind of a lot of connective tissue with like Back to the Future.
Absolutely.
Like, I mean, it's like sound wise and music wise, the opening almost sounds like the same thing, kind of like a ding, like how Back to the Future starts. And just there's a lot. He's using the same kind of like music and grammar, and there's just a lot of great screenwriting and character moments.
And
in
the
this.
bits were really broad, but in the good way.
Yeah, just writing that line is because he definitely liked bad taste, but he also had enough of a hand on the steering wheel to veer it away before it got too close to the rail.
Things that could have come across as incredibly dumb were actually just charming in this.
Yeah,
like when
really
she's
nice.
trying to steer the car when she's in the river.
Yes, that was. I mean,
was
it
like-
could help the wheels directionally.
I was like, aw. I was still on her side there.
Yeah.
No,
I think you stay on her side the whole time. And Michael Douglas, while not my first choice in Lovable Scamp, is certainly able to pull off that character where you hate him and love him at the same time. And just want to fix him, damn it. That's all, all he needs is the right
You
woman.
feel like it wouldn't be that hard to fix him, you
Wouldn't
know?
be that hard. Just the right lady is what
He's
he's
got a
waiting for.
heart of stone. You just got to romance it.
You do. He's got a heart of ceramic bunny, and you just gotta conk it with a rock
El Corazon.
and get that corazon
Cover it in
out.
mother's milk.
I also think like Jessie is the name of her like cowboy hero, and that's just like such an 80s sexy guy name. It's
Uncle
it's
Jesse.
like yeah, it's like the Dylan of the 90s, right? What is that name today? Like what's the sexy generic man name?
Daredevil.
Yes. It's like Captain. It has to be a superhero, right? I also love when you like pull out and see that she's writing the story and she's crying, and there's little notes everywhere. Like I love her.
Yeah,
And
she
her,
immediately is. That is a real working writer.
Yes.
Like you see her environment, and it's not like it is someone who is not like on book one that will never be published. It's someone who does this for a living, and there's so many great details.
the maps of like Texas behind her, and like all the little pictures that are her, research and inspiration, and the fact that she feeds her cat better than herself. Like
And so confident. Like when it's done, she's like, this is good.
this is the one.
I love how she wears headphones while she writes, and she's not listening to music. She's just blocking out everything else. It's like that. It's a perfect
But she
little
also
touch.
says it out loud too. She's blocking out her own voice as she narrates what's happening. And like the blowing her nose on the Post-it note, like for some reason that bit just like stuck in my brain as something that was like happens in this movie.
It's like straight out of a screenwriting textbook. Where it's like, she sees a note that says, buy tissues. Ha ha. And then she blows her nose on it. Waka, waka.
This isn't everybody's writing lady. She's so goofy, and she really does seem like incompetent, like she can't take care of herself. And yet she's
she
a
knows
successful author lady who lives alone, right?
Like before she goes, her editor's like, "No, you're so in over your head. Don't do this." And she says, "I know, but it's my sister."
It's my sister.
So romantic.
Her editor lady is like such a cliche horn dog sidekick. Like you just issued one of those.
She's like
in
straight off the
1984.
set of Designing Women.
Yes, with her big shouldered power suits, they go to the bar and she's like
She's got her cocktail and she's stirring it around with her finger, you know.
looking at the smorgasbord of gross 80s skis balls.
Turning the male gaze on its head.
Yes. So smart, so clever. The horn dog best friend is a girl.
This movie was written by a woman, wasn't it? You're a woman. You should know.
I don't know.
Should I?
I know that in the opening credits I saw Michael Douglas's name about 5 times.
That's true. So Robert Zemeckis, this was his third feature. His first 2 were produced by Steven Spielberg. They were his first 2. I think it was I Want to Hold Your Hand and Used Cars.
Never seen either of those.
Yeah, they were both flops.
I saw Used Cars the exact same way I saw all these other movies. It was free at the library for my dad.
Yay.
But yeah, so the first 2 were flops, and Spielberg wanted to produce his third movie. He was like, no, we can't do another third movie. If it flops, then I'll never make another movie again, and it's going to hurt you too. It'll be the third time that we go out. I've got to go off and do my own thing for this one. Because they were going to do Back to the Future. And he said, no, I've got to go do one without you because it'll hurt both of us if it flops again. I've got to prove myself. And so he did Romancing the Stone. And luckily, it did well, and they were able to team up and do Back to the Future.
You were right. The writer was Diane Thomas.
What else did she do? Anything?
Romancing the Stone, Jewel of the Nile, Game Show, and Game Show.
What is Game Show?
A movie?
Is that the one with
John Turturro?
Ray Fiennes?
No, that's Quiz Show.
Oh, okay. So she was credited with writing Romancing the Stone, but just for having created the characters in Jewel of the Nile.
Having created the characters in Jewel of the Nile?
And I guess she's...
the sequel.
Oh, I see. I misunderstood. I thought you meant that she got a writing credit on the original because she created characters in the sequel. But no, that doesn't make any sense at all.
And then I guess Game Show, she was an actress. Oh, in a soft porn drama about the ins and outs within the office of a sleazy, mid-sized Hollywood PR firm. So things did not go well after Romancing the Stone,
It's
according
too bad.
to
She was real good.
IMDb.
You don't have to include this in the podcast.
Yeah.
Another
Get rid of
sad Hollywood story.
It was nominated for an Academy Award for Best Film
Crocodile.
Editing. It won a Golden Globe for Best Performance by an Actress. It was nominated for Best Comedy or Musical Golden Globe. And Kathleen Turner also won a LA Film Critics Association Award. So good for her. People liked her. I thought she was great.
Yeah.
She was great.
And I kept a little tally of the number of times that she saved them versus the times that he saved
He was
them.
real
And
bad at saving them.
It's 2-1. Like, she saves their asses at least twice for every time that he saves her ass. But, like, how do we get... What's happening? Her sister has been kidnapped. Her sister's husband has been murdered already. No one seems too worried about that. But she has to bring a treasure map to...
Columbia.
Yes. What's the name of the city?
Cartagena?
To
Hotel Cartagena?
In Cartagena. It should be fairly easy to
But
find.
there's something I wanted to bring up about Cartagena.
Please do.
So when she lands, she is trying to find the bus to Cartagena. And she's like, is this the way to Cartagena? Is this the way to Cartagena? And then the bad guy sees her and goes, Cartagena? And she goes, oh, you speak English.
I didn't even notice that. I love it. Good eyes, good ears. Nice catch. Yeah, and what was his plan? Because
this is Zolo,
the big, like, he almost says
the baddie,
nothing.
from
very
the secret
bad.
police.
He puts her on the wrong bus, gets on the wrong bus with her. They go into the middle of the jungle, but the accident is caused by her.
Right. I think he was just hoping to get to whatever the destination was so that he could say, let's go to Cartagena. And it's like 90 feet out into the jungle. And then just sort of take that map.
Yeah. I think she would have, like, gone for it, too. Like, oh, this way, you say? But she causes the bus to wreck. And then even then, he waits quite a while before pulling
Well,
the
he
gun.
has trouble because a pig falls on him.
That'll really put a wrench in your day.
There's valuable birds all over the place.
Oh man.
Oh, yeah, because they crash into... No, the birds are on the bus.
No, there's chickens on the bus. And then the vehicle that
Which
was
are a
stopped,
form of bird.
Right.
But yeah, the
tropical birds, the valuable
Michael Douglas's
birds.
tropical birds.
Jack Colton's birds.
Who we have to assume have been poached.
Yeah.
Like, he's not getting those through.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think there's a crime until it crosses a border, because it seemed pretty lawless in that region.
Just go around grabbing birds. But that's well, we learn that later. His plan is to sell exotic birds. But first we hit him with our bus. And he has to save Kathleen Turner from getting shot by Zola.
Right. Zolo. And first time we see him, his silhouette looks just like Jesse's, who was in her fantasy. That's the thing.
Yeah.
But not
She's-
on a horse.
Right, not on a horse. It's like Monty Python. He's pretending to be on a horse. But yeah, his silhouette is the same in her Western fantasy. And that's the thing, is she is still, that's her arc, is that she's still in kind of this princess romance fantasy.
Well, that's what she says to her at the bar. She says to her editor when she's like, "No, I still have faith. There's someone out there for me.
My Jessie is still out there." And her arc is basically finding a complicated, more real, less perfect love. And you cannot get less perfect than Jack Colton.
True enough. Oh, we skipped the part, and I did want to mention when the sister gets kidnapped. It's like a little kid who like pretends to be all sweet, and then like hits her with one of those things that has a rock on the end, and you
bolo?
swing it. Yes,
It's bolo for. Oh no, he didn't bring him to Zolo. Never mind.
bolo from Zola.
Right, they're trademarked Zolos.
The Zolo bolos. No, but that was probably the second most effective child soldier that I've seen on film.
Definitely the first one I saw.
Well, that exact same thing
the girl
happens
from
in
Kick-Ass
Vibes.
is the best child soldier.
Oh, well, yes. But the same thing happens in Vibes. You remember when they go to it's like
I know it's been 3 weeks, but please remind me.
in the Cyndi Lauper and Jeff Goldblum are in the but they're in Ecuador, right? And they get attacked by a little kid who's just like, "Hey, I'm a little kid," and like he attacks them. I think
With a bolo?
I think he has a knife.
Okay.
But it's like
On a
surprise
string.
kid attack. One of the many.
What year was that?
That was 88.
Okay.
It seems like they're just trying to tell us that the next generation of South American criminals is going to be so good. Like, these kids are doing the work.
They're putting in the time.
Getting the reps, getting their 10,000 hours.
Yeah. He's starting. And then Danny DeVito is part of the 2-man 8-alligator strike force.
Crocodile.
Crocodile, yes. Snappers! Look at those snappers!
I think so. Danny DeVito was almost Sala in Raiders of the Lost Ark. This is the close. Yeah, I know, but seriously,
No, thank you.
there's so many for Raiders. There's so many casting decisions that they wanted to make up front that we didn't get. Thank God, and this is the closest we'll get to, I think, seeing Danny DeVito as Sala.
What that would have been like.
Yeah.
They made better choices.
I just can't picture him doing the trailers for Indiana Jones.
But you gotta come with us.
We're going to find this lost ark.
Stop yelling at me, Danny DeVito. I don't want to find the Lost Ark.
So what? So why couldn't Kathleen Turner mail them the map?
The sister said, it's too important. You have to bring it yourself.
Why can't I use a special registered?
No, mail goes out of Columbia just fine. But we all know who runs the post office in Columbia.
Danny DeVito?
Little children.
Zolo. He's the postmaster general, the head of the secret police. And what else did the guy say? Gave him a bunch of... When they're on the boat, and he's right before he goes, look at those snappers. This guy's a butcher. He said, I don't care if he calls himself an archaeologist or the head of the secret police. Or So, postmaster general's got to be on that list.
Definitely.
I mean, how else would he know to go to her apartment?
Yeah.
This guy's in the mail game.
Because he does go to her apartment, and he
kills a super.
Yeah. And
Which
then no one
was
ever
not
mentions that again.
The wisest
And then he gives up
decision.
immediately and goes back. He's like, well, I gave
Didn't
it a
work
try.
out.
I came all the way to America.
Yes, I
gave
will
it a
commit
try.
murder, but I will not kick down a door.
That's a bridge too far. Well, but
Well,
it's
she-
like
her-
someone rifles the room.
Yeah, and we have to assume it was him.
Oh, you're right.
And I do love her little next door neighbor. Like, she has this little next door neighbor who, like, I thought there was an opportunity for there to be some kind of moment there for him to encounter her and for her to, like, kick his ass or something.
Yeah, little old lady.
She's like, I don't want to get raped.
Yeah,
It's like, yeah.
I can't take the elevator.
You look out for yourself.
So now that we're talking about violence, how many bullets do you think were fired in this film?
Upwards of 1 million.
Yeah, I think there were more bullets than words in the film. How many people got shot?
Does anyone get shot?
Does he get
One
shot in
extra.
the leg?
One extra.
One extra gets shot.
Nice.
And it's one of Danny DeVito's guys.
Oh, nice. Yeah. There's also no gun loading or bullet carrying.
There's one moment of gun loading, and it's when they needed to distract Michael Douglas while she vines across the ravine. Oh, I should have listened to my mother. And
That's true.
He's putting way too many bullets into that shotgun.
Yes. And he thinks that she's, like, hanging out listening to him. And she's like, well, I'm going to just cross this bridge. But she's very brave, but she's, like, brave in a practical way. Which is like, well, if the choices are stay here and get shot or try and cross this rickety bridge, like, the practical choice is to cross the rickety bridge. Like, that's an easy choice for her to make.
I'm lighter
but, like,
than this tool. I can get across the bridge.
Yeah. But, like, with the choice of which bus to get on, like, she needs a lot of help. I had so much anxiety during that scene at the bus station. There's just so much chaos. And just wandering around going, Cartagena! Cartagena! Like,
That
oh
was
my
the
God.
moment where I realized that Danny DeVito is just going to be narrating the movie. Because as soon as she left, he's like, gee, she got on the wrong bus. Can you believe it?
What do you mean you want me to go follow her through the jungle?
It was really just sort of a cartoon character, wasn't he? It's just like a narrator.
Yeah, he was there to, like, catch us up on on if we ever missed anything.
He was the log lady.
Log lady?
In the original Twin Peaks,
Oh, okay.
she would, before there was a previously on, it would be a woman holding a log saying, hey, don't forget that this guy did that. Or we're about to walk in on this thing halfway through. I got this log.
I've never seen Twin Peaks. But I will take your word for it. Okay, so they find shelter in a crashed drug plane that's full of weed that they burn for
Which
fire.
as a child, really didn't have a grasp of
No,
what it was. I
not
knew
get that.
it was.
Why do you think when you were a child that she passed out?
From the drinking. Because she's also drinking.
Oh, yeah, they were partying. in
They
there.
were going hard. Like,
He was like, hey, lady, check out my sailboat. I'm going to sail this boat.
do you like boats?
Yeah, they found a crashed jet that was full of a giant drug shipment of pot.
If you've seen Lost, it was the plane that killed Boone, but instead of Heron, it was that good Doja.
And they get super high and super wasted.
They found out the
And they
Doobie
connect
Brothers
on a
broke
human
up.
level. And they have the exact moment from Temple of Doom, which also came out in 1984, where, like, this snake is over her shoulder and
Yeah.
he gets it, right? And in Temple of Doom, like, she grabs it and throws it, but it's like
Thinking
the
it's the elephant,
same.
yeah.
In this one, he kills the
The Bushmaster.
Lead bad guy in the second season of Luke Cage. Bushmaster.
And they're very tasty.
Do they eat it?
Yeah.
It sounds like they're about to eat it.
Yeah.
We don't actually get to see the delicious meal.
It's the deleted scenes, 10 minutes of them eating it.
And that's when we learn about his bird hustling business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's like, oh, you're into birds? And he's like, no, of course not.
Birds are monsters. They're basically dinosaurs. And but that's when he finds the map, and he's like, hey, just floating an idea. What if we find El Corazon? Then you have all the bargaining chips.
We can give him the map. We can keep the Corazon.
We get your sister.
Just
We
an
get a
idea.
boat, just floating it. And then they just go into the village where El Guapo lives,
Yeah.
No, he's the bell maker.
the bell maker. But they just
They're just wandering.
Stumble
They're
upon that
walking.
village.
They're going down the road. They're like, oh, we got to figure out how to get to a phone. We got to tell these kidnappers, hey, we're still cool. The map's still in the picture. We're in the game.
Yeah, they're stranded at this point in the jungle.
and they find this little city where everybody's starts following them with shotguns.
Yeah, tiny little town, like a one-horse town.
It's like Santa Poco, where El Guapo used to live.
And the vultures are swarming.
Yes.
And he's like, hey, are you ready? And he starts undoing his shotgun. He's like, I'm gonna get both of us killed right now. And then she has a much better plan.
Which is to be polite. And just say, hi, everybody. I'm just going to be aggressively nice.
Hi, we need a car.
We need a phone.
And they're like, there is a car. Instead of just killing them and taking all their stuff.
It's like that whole moment is like a D&D campaign where she somehow rolled a really high charisma.
Yeah, she rolled a natch 20.
Yes, and they were like, oh, all right, fine. Go find
We'll tell you about the bell maker.
Yes. And they go to the door of El Guapo's house.
Alfonso Arau. Arau. My favorite character actor of the 80s is the bell maker. And then, as Michael Douglas said, he's probably the dude this shipment was meant for. This dude is probably the drug dealer.
And he is,
but he's so charming.
And he's so into literacy.
Yeah, it's wonderful. So once he opens up, he finds out that she is...
Well, at first he threatens them.
Right, with a gun in their
through
face.
a tiny peephole, like you would see at a speakeasy or
Yeah.
a underground poker den.
Yeah, so it's a tiny little hole. And then he finds out that she's Joan Wilder.
Because Michael Douglas says, write us out of this one, Joan Wilder.
Joan Wilder!
Joan Wilder!
Es Juanita Wilder!
It's from the stories I read you every Saturday.
Yeah, see, just, oh my God. Why can't we get a post-credit scene
The
of him
torrid-
reading to the town?
My.
And just
Right.
them crying and the women
The Old West erotica I
fanning
read you.
that I read the whole village.
I mean, that village is just dudes, so you can imagine how those Saturday nights go. Circle up, gentlemen.
Oh no. And he's got all her books and he gives one to Michael
Yeah, he
Douglas.
opens the door, and we immediately see that it's a compound, something that you would see in Northern California. There's fountains, and there's just lawn chairs, and it's huge.
Basically the layout, I think, that they took for the bad guy in Last Action Hero.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. But it's not that nice. He still has lawn chairs instead of.
Yeah, doesn't believe in phones. He's got, I mean, I don't know what the technology was like in 1984, but had a tape deck.
But it was the nicest stuff that anybody in that village
Oh
had.
yeah, still choice.
I don't know.
And then
I mean, they had lovely tile roofs and cobblestones and very rich fields.
And then he takes him on his little mule, Pepe, which is a big ass Jeep.
Giant monster truck.
Yeah, it's like a souped up, crazy Ford Bronco that's fireproof.
Fireproof and
bulletproof.
bulletproof, and they jump over this super sweet ramp over a river that then turns into a blockade. Like, that's
this
the
guy-
funnest part of the movie.
Yeah.
This guy is so legit and so used to running from the cops that he's still, like, giving a tour of his estate while he does it.
Oh, this is where my brother and I...
I want you to see this other field. We planted this tree. We got...
The storytelling in this movie is so good. There's so many moments to where there's all these great surprises and all these great reveals and embellishments. You really kind of see the Robert Zemeckis.
It's what the 80s did so well.
Yeah, the Robert Zemeckis that eventually becomes Back to the Future just a few years later. You really see him flexing those muscles. It's just a solidly entertaining movie, you know? There's really... I mean, if there's any bad or slow parts, we're not there for very long.
Right.
And even those are beautiful.
Yeah.
Like when they're in the town and you see the romance start, and it's like, boy, we're taking some time with dinner.
Yeah.
But it's like, oh, this place is awesome.
Yeah. Well, and the all the business that happens between Ira and Ralph, Danny DeVito, and his like cousin or whatever that keeps us keeps reminding us that the sister is a hostage. Like, they're always doing some silly like stage business. Like, Danny DeVito's like hilariously smoking cigarettes, and the other guy's like obsessed with his crocodiles.
Or he's crawling under the tables at the restaurant and
Yeah.
getting beaten up by an old woman. And he's just saying, oh, I lost my langosta.
He's always doing something. It's like, you know, an improv class that I would give anything to have somebody like who wanted to move as much as they.
You would want Danny DeVito in your improv class.
I would take him.
I would too.
Yeah. But it's like people just want to stand there and talk. And it's like, well, talk, sure. But like, do something while you're talking. That's also interesting. And it keeps you, it keeps you liking them, even though they're terrible. Like, they're the root of all of this. When he falls off the counter at the, he's trying
to pull off his own wanted poster. Yeah.
And then he falls backward off the counter. I mean, that's a hilarious moment.
When he just rolls down the hill and is just shooting his gun over his shoulder like a knucklehead.
Pew, pew. Yes. Like 8 random people are just like dropped.
Yeah, like literally there's a couple of moments from this movie that are like seared into my mind from just seeing like the HBO coming next trailer. You know, next on HBO, Romancing the Stone. And that was one of those shots of him shooting over his shoulder that I just have probably seen like 40 times. And so it was like, it must have been just like some select summer that I was just staying at my because we didn't have HBO, it was at my grandpa's. And so just seeing some of these repeat over and over again for a short but intense amount of time.
While you're waiting for that softcore to come on.
Right, exactly. Come on.
The other thing that the lady who wrote this
Right,
movie
exactly. Once
participated
I had bumped up from 11 to 13 in one sitting, I was ready to go to the next level.
I'm ready to hear about this weird doctor's office.
Right.
So they end up in the town where they have like
A date.
Yeah.
Like he sets up a date.
A sweet little date night. But all the while, he's planning to steal the map and make a photocopy of it. Romancing it out from under her, right? And he does take the map and make a copy.
No.
No? He
Almost.
puts it back.
He takes a map, hides it in the mattress, and then she's like, yo, turns out I'm ride or die.
Yeah.
He's like, lit. And just puts it right back in her bag.
Well, awkwardly making out with her, though. He's like, yeah, no, I'm into this. We're making out. I'm just pawing at the bed for...
He's like,
You don't need
I'm
to
looking
worry
for
about
my
it.
oils.
we're going to sail around the world, I promise.
Yeah, because she wants to go look for the stone now. Because they saw a clue while they were escaping. With
The Devil's Fork.
Yes. Because there can
Canador
only be one
del
tree.
Diablo.
Because the bellmaker was like, hey, could you imagine if they hung us from the plot point?
So they try and follow the map. Oh, they end up stealing Danny DeVito's car with him in the back of it, unbeknownst to them. Then
That was another
figures
really
out,
great moment when he's going to hotwire it. And then she's like, try the key.
vroom, vroom, vroom. Yep. She figures out that the map is like the back of a Mad magazine, and you have to fold it to find the waterfall. They immediately find...
They can hear it. They're like, they point to the map. They point to the room, or not the room, just the canopy
Sound
of
of
vines,
rushing
and they're
water.
like, oh, there must be a waterfall back there. And the next shot is
Turns
them
out there is.
wading through this enormous river. And it's like, oh, man, that would take like a day and a half to find the opening. And then they're inside.
They're inside. They find because, I mean, isn't it just common knowledge that, like, things are hidden in statues? Mm-hmm. But she's like, no, in one of my books, I hid something inside the statue. Which,
it's early days of hiding things in statues, I think.
Is it? Like, Maltese Falcon is the early days of hiding things in statues.
They haven't seen that. No.
There wasn't anything hidden in the Maltese Falcon. Was there?
Yes.
Like candy?
Was there a smaller falcon?
Yes. It's basically a Russian nesting doll of falcons.
Okay, just an aside. There is so much ADR in this movie. This movie taught me what ADR is. Mm-hmm. So for the, do you concur?
I don't know. I didn't notice that.
All right. So yeah, there's just so ADR basically replacing the dialogue in post-production, just because there's so much like waterfalls and rain and like jungle and gunshots and like driving that I think like a good 20% of this movie is like ADR.
You got to get around all those elements when you're shooting practically, I guess.
Yeah.
You're having a lot of dialogue happening while you're going over a waterfall and when you've just gone over a waterfall.
Or when you're yelling across a river.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Because they do the thing where she's like steering in the river and they go over and they end up on opposite sides, which she's certain he did on purpose. Because she ends up with a map and he ends up
with the stone.
With the giant emerald.
Which means that they both already have what they wanted.
Yep.
Like, he can dip if he wants. She can get her sister back. So, if they get back together, it's because they mean it.
Well, so the next thing that happens is the handoff.
Mm-hmm.
She goes with the map to the meet.
Cartagena.
Although, while they're in there and they're getting the stone, that's when she says to him, "You're the best time I've ever had." And he says, "I've never been anybody's best time." So that sort of makes you think. Because otherwise, when they're on the opposite sides of the river, it's like, oh, all right, that's the end of the movie.
Yeah. But they do have, like, I think this movie does it right. Because we also talked about in Vibes the whole, like, oh, we love each other, but we're going to, like, the journey's over, so I guess we'll never see each other again. It's like, why are you going to play that game with us?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We know you're getting back together.
It's like they managed to do a will they, won't they after they already did the business.
After they already did. And then they do it again. Because, of course, the handoff goes badly.
Although, the handoff, there's a moment in the handoff where I laugh out loud every time I watch it.
I think it's probably one of my favorite moments.
Probably. I rewound it probably 45 times.
It'll be fun if we're not talking about the same moment. So what's yours?
My favorite moment is when he says, "You and your sister can go."
That's exactly mine, too. I wrote it down.
Just the way he does that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And he's like prepared to just let them go. Like
he's like, "Hey, good deal. Let's all shake on it. Everybody got what they wanted. Quality kidnapping. Thank you for bringing that."
Yeah.
I mean, it was
nice work.
Took you a little bit. It was a big mess, but all's well that ends well.
But we're good. Bye-bye. And it would have all been fine. Except Zolo shows up, and he's got
Zolo appears.
Pop. And he's got Michael Douglas.
I missed you at the hotel. So did they.
And wait, but how do they... Danny DeVito reveals.
Right, Danny DeVito's also a prisoner. Mm-hmm. And then he says, "I had it right in my hand. I had it in my hand. This hand is going to break every tooth in your mouth." And then Zola's like, "Hey, we're doing our thing here." And he's like, Later.
I think we need to do a new podcast where, like, Adam just acts out the movie. Okay. And then he has to, like, decide whether or not he's going to save her or get the stone from the inside of the alligator.
Yeah, so
crocodile.
Yeah, so kind of like Captain Hook style, Zolo catches. Okay,
Ooh,
we're missing
foreshadowing.
We're missing the best part where he gets.
I think me and Adam mentioned
not
it.
the best part. Okay,
Is this the best part?
Where he gets kicked in the nards?
If we're talking about the whole movie, let's say the 13th best part.
I feel like this is not the early days of hiding things in your nuts.
So he's hiding it in his nuts. They crack him with the back of their rifle, and he's like, ugh, and it's like something is falling out of his pants.
He does a little shimmy.
And then the enormous emerald is on his boot, at the edge of his boot. He tries to kick it out
With the classic line, choke on it.
And then, but Zolo catches it.
Because he kicks it into a tree.
Right.
And it just bounces right into
Classic
Zolo's
mistake.
hand.
And then, Captain Hook style, his hand is eaten.
His delicious hand.
All of the violence in this movie is very cartoonish until that moment where how would you describe the amount of blood that was coming out?
Oh, yeah, and then you
Like
can
a
like
Saturday
see,
Night Live.
the bone sticking
Yeah.
out.
He's got his
Gross.
bone out, blood's flying everywhere. He's screaming. He looks like he's genuinely in shock.
They beat the shit out of Zolo. Like, as much of a bad guy as he was, they really take him down several notches
Well,
during
he
this
did-
whole fight.
He
Oh,
did
yeah.
kill that super.
That's
He
true.
did. Ugh. And he has that teeny tiny little knife that he's always threatening everybody with. It's like, I carry a bigger knife in my purse.
Like I think Frodo did.
Yeah. I think everybody has a bigger knife than this guy. But he is attacking Joan, and Jack Colson has to let that...
He's got a
Crocodile?
crocodile by the tail. The crocodile is falling. He's
The
like
decision's here. Yeah.
He's going over the edge. He's holding on to his tail. By the way, those crocodiles weigh between 450 and 900 pounds. He's holding it by its tail. The entire weight of that crocodile.
Yeah. You think
that-
the
all that
tail would
bird
just
catching.
snap off like other lizards do.
Oh, man, that'd be so cool if crocodiles could do that.
He just has like the tail.
And then Joan Wilder, so it's kind of a repeat in the fiction of what we saw in the beginning of the story. Is that she's in the same scenario that her busty protagonist was in at the beginning with her kind of villain. And so that kind of circular storytelling is really cool because then she's living what her fantasy was.
But she already had that fantasy flipped when she tried to throw his knife back at him.
Right. Yeah.
He blocks it.
Yeah.
She's like, oh, we're in real life.
Damn. But I thought that parallel worked really nicely, and it was really good because she sort of like mostly saves herself again, and then he
100%. 'Cause
Yeah.
her sister just faints,
bloop.
and then it's one-on-one.
Yeah. And then that's the thing. So when Jack finally am I going to go save her or am I going to hold on to the jewel? He finally lets the croc go. He grabs his gun and it's out of ammo.
Yep.
Which I was so happy it was out of ammo because I had no confidence that he was going to be able to hit Zolo. With
No.
the two of them up there, I haven't seen him hit anything. I've seen him fire a lot of bullets.
A hailstorm of bullets. And then the last thing he says to her is, like, you're going to be all right, Joan Wilder, because you always were. And it's like, yeah, damn right. She was. You did like 3 things on this trip.
I was watching that fight scene with my wife, and the whole time she was saying, oh, hit him in the stump. Hit him in the stump.
Hit that stump.
That stump. Hit him in the stump.
So, that's the practicality that modern women have, like, just born into them
And then
these
she
days.
does.
Yeah. Right in the stump.
We were so excited. She jumped off the couch.
That's awesome.
I would like to see, well, we have to say what the end is, but I would like to see a prequel to this movie where it's about the people who hid the stone in the first place. And it's like Joe Manganiello and the lady he's married to from Modern Family, whose name is Sofia Vergara. And it's like the two of them, like, hiding the stone and then making the map.
Oh, no, you gotta put it in the bunny.
Look what I did, honey. If you fold the map like this, see, that's the final clue. You gotta fold the map.
Nobody's gonna fold the map, stupid.
Okay, so the end of the movie, we find them in New York. She's finally learned self-care because her hair is no longer frizzy and out of control, and she's wearing a scarf now, so you know she's like feeling herself.
She's not afraid of the wind. She's
No,
prepared.
she just wants to look good. And she like has buying herself fresh flowers and like, there's Kleenex in there. She's not gonna forget this time.
She wrote an autobiography and pretended it was fiction.
Oh, sassy. Oh, and that's the editor says something like the new book is selling like crazy, or
She's like,
This is so much better than your previous shit.
yeah.
and you've made it so quickly. Oh my God. And she's like,
Okay.
yeah, I guess so.
So then the next thing that happens is a goddamn boat comes
Yeah.
driving up the street.
Accompanied by like alto or soprano sax music.
Yes, which we need. We needed that sax.
First thing I thought was, oh man, they put the boat in the wrong place.
He's all that time.
Let's go in the water.
He didn't know what to do with a boat.
I'm gonna drive
just-
around the world in that thing.
He wanted a boat. He didn't know why.
Who is driving the boat?
I bet you the
Who's driving the boat?
the logistics of getting that boat onto that thing into the middle of that city was harder than getting.
The jewel out of the crocodile?
Yeah.
Which there's no way. Mm-hmm. No. I say no.
Well, he said that the crocodile had indigestion, so I'm thinking that he swam around for a while. It didn't work out. He was sitting on the beach.
How long? How many hours?
He swam till he got so tired, probably till daybreak, and he's like, what am I gonna do? I gotta go get more birds now. And sitting on the beach, all of a sudden, an upside down crocodile is just floating in the water.
Right.
He's like, that emerald just cut his guts up.
Well,
I recognize that crocodile. I mean, it's the same thing as them ending up in Danny DeVito's car.
right. Yes. It's a world of beautiful coincidence. And they have a really nice moment, and it's really nice. And then, why is the boat called Angelina? I tried to look on the internet, and they had no answers for me.
I have no
Because
idea.
they focus on
Probably
it so
real,
much.
Yeah.
And-
Was it the real boat?
No,
It's
I'm
probably-
sure that is why,
yeah,
but like,
how
what
they
a
were
what a
allowed to use
missed
the boat.
opportunity.
yeah.
Like, it should have been called El Corazon.
What was the name of the woman in the original story at the beginning?
It wasn't Angelina.
Well, if I wrote it, it would be.
Okay. That was the piece of it that didn't add up for me. Mm-hmm. That was the only piece of it that didn't add up for me. Everything else...
Other than who was driving the boat.
yes. And why did he bring it into the city?
It was a
He had to-
grand gesture.
He had to go through a tunnel
Maybe that's where he bought the boat. He just bought the boat.
at the
books- yeah,
at
at
the
the boat
inner
store.
city boatyard.
Well, there's
Sorry,
a lot
I don't know why I shouted that so loud.
Most publishing houses do have a Bass Pro Shop.
So yeah, they meet, they hug, they're in love, and so I guess she's cool with him just keeping all the money then?
Well, she's got to be like
They're-
very wealthy.
They're gonna be together.
Yeah.
He said, "I promise I'll sail around the world with you." Right before he gave the map back.
Everything's going to work out fine for them. Until War of the Roses. That's when it all goes south.
Is that in the? Is that one of the movies?
Have you never seen it? Oh my gosh, you should see it.
Is that the threequel after Jewel of the Nile?
Well, it's the two of them and Danny DeVito.
Yeah,
So,
so
in a
it's
way, yes.
But
They're-
not the same characters,
No.
yeah. But it's the reuniting of the
All
cast.
three of them. But we should do that one.
Should we?
When did it come out?
I like it. It had to be 80s.
What if it was 1990, January 1990?
Then if we did that, then we could also do Young Guns too.
Can we?
God, I love Young Guns too.
That's how Nathan puts his foot down. Is just by going, should we? That's a Nathan hell no. Nathan speak. Okay, so on a scale of
So yeah, Jewel of the Nile came out just 1 year later. The sequel.
oh, was it so fast?
Yeah, I think it was like literally like 1 year later.
Well, the Rotten Tomato score, I think,
it would
indicate that that's
reflect
true.
that.
What does it go from a 93 to a 52?
I remember liking it,
It's probably great.
but I don't. I've never. I have not rewatched it as many times as I have rewatched.
It's charming to see all those actors again.
Mm-hmm.
But
You
in
think
terms
it's like
of
a Kingsman situation?
what's the Kingsman situation?
Well, the first one, everybody was like, "Oh, this is great." The second one is, "What are they doing? do they just end this franchise now?"
Oh man, yeah, it's Jewel of the Nile doesn't have the same charm, or like the story doesn't have the same.
Is
charm.
Ira in it?
I don't
Ralph
think so.
Is.
I know Ralph is. Because if Ira's not in it, I think we know why.
I don't know. Maybe
He
we
did
should-
have the best moment in the first one.
It's true.
He did. And I'm constantly, look at those snappers. Like, if anybody looked at the snappers, they'd be like, oh, I've seen them. I've seen those snappers.
That's a crocodile.
I've seen it.
We do that here in Colombia.
Yeah. He was so enthusiastic about them, though. Like, to love anything as much as he loves seeing an alligator eat a piece of meat.
That's all I really want for my
crocodile.
future unborn children.
Just to love something that much? Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, you find the thing that you love and you stick with it, right?
Mm-hmm. You do it every day.
Every day.
Never
right.
let down.
Scale of 1 to 10. 1 corazon to 10 corazones. How many corazones do you give the jewel? No, this is Romancing the Stone. How many
Romancing the
stones
Stone.
do you romance?
I would give it 8 corazones.
Nice. Solid.
8 corazones and one airplane full of weed.
Yeah.
How many airplanes full of weed?
How many weed airplanes? How many weird airplanes do you give it?
You know what? I'm gonna give it 9. Mm-hmm. I heart this movie. It's great.
You corazon it?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I corazon it.
I also corazon this movie. I'm prepared to give it a solid 9. It was so I had so much fun rewatching it. I watched the first half with my daughter, and she was like really getting a kick out of it. And then I watched the second half by myself. Glass of wine, had a ball. Mm-hmm. Loved it. Laughing out loud.
I watched it twice this week, and I think the thing that ended up being most off-putting to me is that I just saw Avengers Endgame.
Oh, yeah.
And seeing the digitally young Michael Douglas,
It
it
makes your stomach feel uneasy.
when I see both of them, it makes me uneasy. When I see the actual young Michael Douglas, I'm uneasy. When I see the digital young Michael Douglas, I'm uneasy.
There's something about the de-aging technology that it's like, it makes me feel motion sick. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
'Cause it's just like, is Michael Douglas so vain that he wants to make himself look smoother than
he ever originally
evidence
was.
Of in all of his previous
We've
films?
seen you. Like, you always had those 4 red wrinkles.
Although the most seamless one has been Sam Jackson in Captain Marvel.
Mm-hmm.
I stopped thinking about it.
Yeah.
I mean, they
But
could
he's
have
aged
done
well.
that with makeup. He looks so good now.
Yeah. I just always find it yucky.
Well, it's a new thing. It's a new thing.
I mean, it's since Click. Click is when they first really just tried hard.
Click with Adam
Sandler when they tried to show him as a kid with the Fonz as a young person and Lily Tomlin, I think, as a young
felt
person.
like the first time people were like, "That's
bad." It was.
I think the first time it
good.
was like impressive was with
Robert
Tron.
Downey Jr. and
Tron 3D.
no before that
Jeff
even
Daniels.
young Patrick Stewart and Ian McKellen in the third X-Men movie.
Didn't they just get young actors?
No,
I just feel like we know what they looked like when they were those ages. You know, they always end up too smooth.
boy, this is a sidetrack.
Yes.
Hey guys, see Tron 3D in IMAX.
Is that your
with
deep
Jeff
cut
Bridges.
recommendation?
That is when de-aging looked good for the first time, and I'm sure it does not hold up. But no, my deep cut, if we're doing that,
Let's do it.
I have my first deep cut is if you really love watching people in the jungle fall down hills.
Which I do.
I do, and it happens in this movie with a great oral sex joke.
Yeah.
I would say watch Peter Berg's The Rundown with The Rock and Stifler.
Stifler, yeah.
Because there are a few scenes
Sean William Scott.
where they fall down a mountain 3 or 4 or 5 times as long as is reasonable. And I think because you're used to seeing The Rock as a professional wrestler, you're like, oh yeah, he can take all that punishment. He would have been dead 30, 40 times over, but oh God, it's a treat. It's a treat to see him do that. And my other darker deep cut is a YouTube clip called Crocodile Eats Other Crocodile's Arm, where it's at, I think a crocodile farm somewhere in the south, and it's feeding time at the crocodile farm, and the trainer's like, all right, here's some meat, and he throws some type of roadkill, and all the crocodiles are going for it. One of the crocodiles misses, catches another crocodile's arm, and just does a real hard spin, pops that arm off, and just starts eating it.
Oh, my.
And the crowd is just like, what? What? And the trainer's like, oh, come on, you're scaring the customers. Meanwhile, the crocodile, crocodiles have dead faces, but you can see this crocodile look at the other crocodile like, this motherfucker. Looks at his arm, looks at the other crocodile.
Arm.
He's like, well, you didn't have to do that.
Things were real awkward at the crocodile
He's
farm
got more
after that.
roadkill to throw at us.
A link will not be in the show notes.
But just feel free to Google Crocodile Eats Other Crocodile's Arm. It will be the first thing that pops up.
Let's hope so.
My deep cut recommendation, if you can't get enough, this is along the same lines of the first recommendation. If you need more kind of quasi Indiana Jones romancing I feel like if you're in the Indiana Jones mood, a romancing the stone is a good additional hit, But if you really want to get some of the other movies in kind of that zone, but I cannot guarantee the quality as much.
Mm-hmm.
So
that
I
is what I
recommend
was looking
multiple
for.
movies. It's the Richard Chamberlain, Alan Quartermain movies with Sharon Stone are just ridiculous.
Are those the canon ones?
Yes.
Well, the story about those, right?
I'm sure there's a lot of stories about those.
Well, no,
I don't even know what you're talking about.
they were making these movies. This is from that documentary that you showed me.
Yes.
Where Romancing the Stone was a big hit. And so he's like, get me that woman. Get me the stone woman. Get me the stone woman.
Oh, yes.
So they go out and hire Sharon Stone by accident.
Oh, but they wanted Kathleen Turner?
They did, yes.
Uh-huh. Oh, that's so good. Oh, yes. And then
I do love Kathleen Turner.
Yeah. And then in the same zone, I'd recommend Gunga Din or Charlton Heston in The Secret of the Incas, which was both Gunga Din and Secret of the Incas, which is not that great, were both kind of influences on Raiders Lost Ark and kind of building Indiana Jones.
Nothing I want more in a recommendation than not that great.
So I don't have anything good. My recommendation is John Wick 2.
I'm in. It's a good recommendation.
I think there's an equal number of bullets fired.
Uh-huh.
Except a lot more things get hit.
They are more effective
in John Wick 2.
That's one of the things we learned in the last 30 years.
But there's that scene in John Wick 2 where Keanu Reeves and Common are walking along a corridor and they're just taking over the shoulder, pot shots at each other, and they don't hit anybody else. They don't hit each other either. But I was reminded of that when when Danny DeVito was just shooting over his shoulder of the much sexier, much deadlier version of it in John Wick 2.
I disagree with the sexier part.
I'm sorry. No accounting for taste. In my mind.
You may not like it, but Danny DeVito is what peak performance looks like.
Oh, my goodness. All right. So, Adam, you've been a guest before.
I have.
We've mentioned all the places that people can find you. What do you want to remind people of?
I want to remind people that every time I'm on the show, I recast the movies.
Oh,
So-
thank you for reminding me of that. Please.
All right, so I have two versions.
Okay.
One, if they really wanted to lean on the action side of the action comedy, and that would have our important couple being Tessa Thompson and Bradley Cooper.
Yeah.
Bradley Cooper.
Yeah, he's dirty enough to do the job. He's creepy in the same way Michael Douglas is. And I think the age difference is about the same.
Okay.
The villain would be Javier Bardem.
As Zolo.
And
He's always scary.
the kidnappers would be Patton Oswalt and Bill Hader.
Oh, my God. They would be such an amazing team.
The drug dealer would be John Leguizamo.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think he could pull that off in the more action version. In the comedy version,
Okay.
so they're leaning more on that. It would be Kristen Schaal and Will Forte.
I love them together.
The villain would be Fred Armisen.
Wait. I'm like picturing him complaining about his birds. My birds!
No!
He could basically
Call
wear
911!
the MacGruber outfit. The
that's so
kidnappers would be Danny DeVito still,
Keep him.
and Thomas Middleditch.
Yeah. He needs to be a bad guy at some point.
I agree.
But but exactly that brand of bad guy.
I just couldn't help but picture him saying, "Can go." And the drug dealer would be Jason Mantzoukas.
Oh my God. Yes. I want to see that.
Yes, that's great.
He would have so much fun. I can hear every single person in all of those parts. Well done. You are the champion of that game.
Thank you.
You consistently win at that game.
So here's my question. So what would be the third movie? Jewel of the Nile is the second one. So the whole premise of that is the Jewel of the Nile is actually a person and not a thing.
Right.
It is?
Yeah. So
It's a
spoiler.
Human person.
Because
That's the surprise, is that the whole jewel they've been chasing is actually a person.
would you mind if we listen to the trailer for that?
Let's do it.
Because the trailer made me not watch it yesterday.
Oh no.
But I probably would have, having seen the other trailer.
Yes, sir. All right.
There's Danny DeVito rolling down a
I'm
hill.
coming. Hold your horse. Yeah. Ira, how'd you get this number? No, I'm doing this one on my own. I got new partners. Jack Colton and Joan Wilder. We're romancing a new kind of stone called the Jewel of the Nile. I practically got it in my hands right now. The only thing stopping me is this big shot Arab who stole it. And is not too thrilled to part with it. But that's only the tip of the iceberg. How do you stop this thing? If we get out of this alive, I'm gonna kill you. Look, I can't talk anymore. I think somebody wants to use the phone. Look, I gotta go. And if I gotta go, you gotta go.
So romancing the stone in Taliban country.
Yeah, like they're pretty sure that whereas Romancing the Stone sort of flirts with the casual racism and homophobia that you come to expect in an 80s movie, I think like Jewel of the Nile sort of really leans
This
into
one's
it.
trailer says Arab.
Yeah. 85 was 85.
Thanks,
No,
guys, for
it
tuning
is.
in for the most excellent 80s movie podcast.
But people should definitely still watch the Voyage Trekkers episode. The movie
Adam
episode.
stars in it himself as Captain. Go ahead. Do you want to act out the trailer for the Voyage
And
Trekkers
then at the
trailer?
end, look right into the camera and say,
Okay.
All right, ready?
Jada. No, I'm doing this on my own. I'm down here on a planet with Dr. Rita, and with my boy, he's got a gun that kills people. What is he doing over here? Beam us back to the ship, you knucklehead. Give me some bagels. Oh, the news is bad today. Oh, geez. Spoiler alarms. Oh, it's his birthday. Happy birthday. Who's got tacos? So that's the trailer.
Nice.
well done.
So it's on the YouTubes. You can check it out at voyagetrekkers.com or us on the Facebooks and the interwebs.
In all the places. And you can find me in physical reality at National Comedy Theater in downtown Mesa, or on the interwebs at nctphoenix.com or klens37 on the Instagrams.
You can find me on the podcast Acting Coach Dan Rodandin, teaching actors how to act. That is... I'll let the secret out. It's me.
Oh. Wait, it is?
It turned out it was me the whole time. You can see that. Obviously, Voyage Trekkers, as Nathan brought up, and everybody's excited about. Boy, all that trekking they do. What a
so
voyage.
much voyage.
Such voyage, much trek. And you can see our studio web series, which is about how strange it is to live in New York. You can also watch the Bully Mammoth short called Eat Your Cake that I forgot that I did. And one of my coworkers reminded me of it, and I was like, oh, yeah, this is pretty good.
Very nice.
That's on YouTube as well.
Excellent.
Great.
Did we already say all your things?
Yeah, we covered them.
Did we?
I think so.
Okay.
But you can also hear Nathan on the 80s movie podcast.
Oh, right. I've heard about that.
With my co-host, Krissy Lenz of National Comedy Theater.
I've heard of her. You know what you should do? Rate and review that show on the place where you listen to.
I hear that helps other people discover that podcast.
I've also heard that.
And it's just not about heaping on praise. It's actually encouraging other people to discover it.
I have heard that.
Hey, are you too embarrassed to tell your friend, hey, there's this great podcast. Here, I'll tell you about it in person, because that's actually the best way to do it. If you're too nervous to do that and you still want to help, please rate and review.
Yeah. Click that thing that looks like a thumb pointed at the sky.
Do that. That way they don't have to set up a Patreon.
Yeah.
You dink.
'Cause I don't want to.
Please support us so we never have to open up a Patreon.
Please,
Support
I don't
us
want to.
with your keyboard so you don't have to support us with your wallet.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's everything, right? Thank you so much for listening and hanging out with us at the Most Excellent 80s Movies podcast. While you're out there in the world, be sure to keep the Most Excellent 80s motto in mind. Be excellent to each other and
You
Party on.
and
the
your
Doobie
sister
Brothers broke up.
can go.
When did that happen?
perfection.